So today we're here to talk about smart farms. We've done about 150 smart farms at Storm, and so we've learned a bunch of things along the way. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. And I'm here with some of the Storm team. So we have Michelle Lalonde, the VP of Sales, who's been working on various things for Storm for many years. And then there's a few other folks from Storm that are involved in the behind the scenes. So Manuel and Julia worked on the presentation with Jason Riddick, and Chris Ranklers was involved in network design for us over the years. So that's the Storm team that's present at this point. And we have Stan, who's from Alberta, who's visiting with us. So we like to make sure that people know we appreciate them, and that being our customers and coming to the webinar, it's important for us to get the information that people are looking at, and receive their questions. So we're looking forward to questions and comments throughout this presentation. So if there's things that are going on in the presentation that you have questions about, feel free to step in and chat to us. This is our 6th webinar. We've already done them on Wi-Fi, SEO, backup and recovery in DCR, some wireless internet access, fixed wireless internet access. Actually, we did some pieces for commercial support. This is smart farms, and next up, 2 weeks from now, will be pre-wiring during construction or renovations to get better internet in your building. For those of you who don't know, we've been around for more than 25 years. We've got our offices across the Ottawa Valley. We provide internet to both urban and rural Ontario. And we have our own facilities-based distribution in terms of both fiber. So up in the Clayton Lake area, as an example, we provide fiber to the home or fiber to the business. And we also do the same thing at the VARS Business Park. So at the VARS Business Park, we provide, also known as the 417 Business Park, we provide fiber to the business. We have over 250 towers in our fixed wireless access, or FWA as it's sometimes called in the industry. So all those towers are points from which we can send a signal to people's premises and deliver an internet signal that they can use. We also do what's called TPIA, or third-party internet access resale. And so we sell fiber, we sell cable, and we sell DSL. And we put together quotes because we have several fiber suppliers. So if it's an area we are not doing directly, we can provide fiber from one of various fiber suppliers. Our customer service is local. So when you talk to us and say, I'm from Inkerman, we'll know exactly where that is. And we also have a large number of customers who've helped us think about what the residential and commercial solutions ought to be. We run around 50 employees, especially during build season, which is during the summer, which hopefully starts in April, so we can get a little extra month in there. People don't realize how big our footprint is in the Ottawa Valley. So if you look at the left-hand side at Charbot Lake, that's north of Kingston, and it goes all the way to the Quebec border. And so the area in the Quebec border, you'll notice that there's 2 purplish and 1 silver. The silver is a new rollout that we've did late last year, and it was to put up 100 down and 20 up. So it's a new piece of equipment that we are able to use to expand the pipe, so it's no longer just 5010. We did a large number of 5010 upgrades over the last 3 years, and now what we're doing is we're bringing in the next level, which is 100 down and 20 up. For commercial, though, we also have the next generation fixed wireless access, or NG-FWA, available, which basically will push it up to a gig or more wirelessly to you, and using the 60 gigahertz frequency. So we are literally delivering today in several different locations fixed wireless access of up to a gig usually for commercial people who want that. So a large part of what we've done over the years is helped with events. So Michelle can probably talk about Blues Fest or Kimville Live.
Well, these are events that come around every few years or every year, basically, bearing COVID, obviously. But yeah, these events come around every year, and we supply Wi-Fi, we supply internet, POS devices, all the stuff you need for your events.
Yeah, and we even bring the portable tower. We have a 110-foot portable tower that we can bring to a site as well. So we have that. In terms of municipalities, the City of Ottawa is using us for construction, the LRT construction. We provide internet to the construction trailers. The advantage is when they decide to move the trailer just down the road, they don't have to get it wired. It's all wireless to the trailer. And that helps them with as-built drawings, time cards, occupational health and safety cameras, and anti-theft cameras. So all of those are part of what we're doing for supporting the LRT construction. And we're also doing things like meeting centers. The Aberdeen Pavilion is a good example. The Army Run and several other events start there, and we're able to provide the registration with great internet so that they can actually be able to run it from there. In the rural areas, we have the 150 smart farms, but there's also marinas and campgrounds. There's manufacturers who moved out of the city in order to get a lower cost, a land cost. We work with distribution and logistics, and of course, we support tourism. All of those county fairs are part of the tourism that happens in the area, and we've several times supported the international plowing match as well. So those are the kinds of things that Storm does, and we're very capable of doing those kinds of things. So now on to smart farms. You know, it's interesting to see what kind of things happen in the rural areas. We're 150 smart farms in, and we've got a lot of different pieces and parts. And one of the latest projects is working with people on biodigesters. So biodigesters need good internet to be able to report back to hydro on what's going on, and to also put alerts out in case something gets stuck in the biodigester. So we're doing some of those. We've done solar farms, wind farms, and the latest thing that we're looking at with some groups is the battery energy storage systems, or BESS. And those are going to show up where a local battery will be capable of supplying internet to the grid if there's an issue with transmission lines. You'll still be able to locally have a big battery for the neighborhood. So that's already starting to be permitted by several different municipalities, and we're seeing that. Large part of what we've done is around dairy, the automated milkers and feeders. And we've got that all sorted out. Cash croppers, poultry, dairy, pig, and so on. The different livestocks, we're able to help with that, including herd management. Herd management. We actually have had people who are doing as small as 64 head of cattle, all the way up to over 2,000 head of cattle. So we actually have had some pretty good experience in helping with herd management. The maple syrup producers, we do quite a few maple syrup producers where we provide not only Wi-Fi for point of sale and things at the pancake house that they will have, but we also do IoT, or Internet of Things, monitoring sensors throughout the farm to make sure that the maple syrup is flowing properly. We're watching for opportunities in hydroponics, greenhouses, vertical farming and precision agriculture to see what we can help with. A lot of the vertical farming, as an example, does have monitoring of what's going on inside the building that can be pushed out from the building over the internet, so people can see what's going on. So it's all about connectivity. Our smart farm theory is that you should be able to get access to your you should be able to get access to the internet wherever you need it on the farm property. So we enable you to manage your farm better because of the fact that we allow you to connect everywhere on the farm. We'll be talking about that in just a minute. It does help with reducing energy costs. It can look at water consumption, the feed that you feed your cattle, some of the consumables, certainly keeping track of production data. People know what's going on in the silos, how much got shipped in this last shipment, all that kind of stuff. And you're also seeing normal accounting functions, and managing crop data becomes really important to people, so they understand what's going on with the precision agriculture helps for this. So here's an example of soybean planting. The soybeans here in the planting, the red and orange are areas where you seed heavily, and the result of doing, where you did the seeds, and then later on when you actually pull the crop off, it looks like this. So that heavy seeding paid off because you have some very nice green spots in that same kind of area. And so that's part of why people want to do smart farms, because they want to be able to minimize the amount of seeds or fertilizer that they need to drop in any particular area, and yet produce the maximum amount of crop that they can. So when you're starting to think about internet for the farm, you got to be thinking about what are the different buildings that you have. So what are your goals? What are the buildings? What are the applications that you have or would like to have that are going to need internet connectivity? What equipment do you need to have connected in which buildings? What are the critical applications and locations that if there was a power outage that you would want to have continued? So that is something that people learned about during the ice storm. Having a generator or a PTO generator can help, but you want to think about where that equipment's located across your property so that you can figure out how you're going to actually make that all work. So in a farm, you have different buildings, and your plan is to find those buildings and then hook them up. So in this particular case, we have a biodigester here, as well as a farm operation, and both the biodigester and the farm have their own offices. So the farm operation has offices, and the buildings are labeled so we know what equipment will go in which building and get hooked up. So while we do the network on the outside, inside the buildings, we do things like cameras and all kinds of sensors. Michelle, maybe you want to talk to that a little bit?
Well, yeah. So the internet is propagated through the vertical assets of the farm to the different buildings, and inside the network continues to the Wi-Fi and connectivity throughout the barn, the buildings, the office space, even most of the time the farmer's home are all connected to the same internet pipe.
And it's a private network for that whole group. And often we find that there's more than one house on, because people severed the lot and we got a second residence. So it all becomes one big internet network off just for feeding through the farm. So you got to think about residences. You got to think about your office. Don't forget the shop, because there's going to be a day when you want to run a YouTube to take a look to see what's going on and how to fix it. And then the garages barns. If you're doing things with weighing, the people from Cook Scales use us in a lot of locations to help transmit the amounts that are on the scale, so somebody doesn't have to walk out and read things. So bringing it in by the internet, it actually makes a lot of sense. So if you have a scale house, you might have that. It also, we can connect to the silos, and that helps you understand how full the silo is and how much moisture might be in there. So those are the kinds of things. So you need to make an inventory of the buildings you have and what you want to actually do with it. So the dairy computers, they know which cows are sick and the milk has to be dumped. They know that Bessie gets 2 shots of this and 3 shots of that, so that the gravity feeds into the feeder when her RFID tag arrives at the feeder. You've also got the milker that's automated as well. Lots of different things in a dairy barn that we can automate. You may have a program logic controller, a server that opens and closes a servo. It could be the fans get faster if the temperature goes up too much in the summer in the barn. There's just different things that you might have that kind of a server working on for you. Then you have lots of different software that's specific to the operation. So it could be crop management, it could be fertilizer. Lots of weather stations are required because you know, out in the back 40, you might actually have a different weather pattern than you do closer to the houses. And that's important because you have to understand the number of heat days that you're dealing with, so that you can calculate when you should be taking the crop off and estimating you know, what you need to do next with that crop and when. Even breeding software and veterinarian software get involved over the internet. A vet can make a remote house call, so to speak, if the right software is set up to check on things for you, and so that the vet doesn't actually have to come to your farm right there. So we built a laundry list of the kinds of equipment we've connected over the last 150 plus integrations at smart farms. And so you can see that one thing is that people don't always know that you can do both hardwired and wireless. And wireless sometimes is point to point between buildings. So there's an antenna that points to another building, and it's like having a wire, but it's wireless. And that's just, rather than having to dig through the lot and run a wire of some kind or a fiber of some kind. Often the devices are for the ventilation and temperature control. They are the milking computers. They are scales. You've even got robot alert notifications. Lots of different equipment here. Feeding, tracking, understanding the need for Wi-Fi in different areas. So for instance, the updates from John Deere or other combine manufacturers will be done over the air, so to speak. But that over the air certainly can be a Wi-Fi in the barn that's feeding it, because the barn with a tin roof might not get a cell signal into that barn. So you can be looking at how to get your updates for the combine or the planter. You can look at how to get them off the internet to deliver that package to keep the device upgraded. So those are the kinds of things we've worked on so far. So any smart farm project is actually a project. It's going to be a turnkey project. That basically means we do some work with you and your team for planning. We discover what you need in what building. We come up with a plan for how we connect the buildings, how we connect to the property, and then we actually go and design a network. around the things that you have now, and we'll also talk about future-proofing it as well. Then we will acquire and install the equipment. So the routers, the switches, the access points, the cameras, and even the batteries or UPSs, uninterruptible power supply. You figure out where they need to be located, and we'll organize it so they're all there and all monitored. We'll also integrate network-enabled devices that you have. We'll provide you with monitoring of all that equipment. So if something goes bump in the night, we'll know about it before you do. And if it requires a service tech, the service tech will come and visit. But a lot of the stuff is going to be covered by, we have a new service which is 24/7 support from our network operations center. And so people can sign up for the premium support, and we will actually monitor 24/7, and we can often remotely reboot equipment and get it back online. We'll also provide the updates and upgrades to the equipment. So a lot of the upgrades nowadays are for performance or security reasons, and they come across the internet, and there's a process to download them and get them installed and up and running. So because we run 24/7, we can pick a maintenance window that makes sense for your operation and make sure that those kinds of things are done in the middle of the night or whenever actually it makes sense. The other thing is that many people are surprised by the fact that these days fixed wireless access can be all the way up to more than a gig of speed, and which means you basically can have an air fiber. So it's a fiber that's wireless, and what it does is allows you to keep your business running. So every now and then you hear about a fiber getting cut by a backhoe. It's more frequent than we'd like it to be. And certainly in the city of Ottawa, as an example, they estimate that they lose 300 hydro poles a year, either through replacement or because there was a car accident, or a truck clipped them, or anyway, they go out. So if they have fiber on them, that means your fiber may go away too. So having a wireless backup can be important for an operation of any kind, especially in the dairy barns. They really don't want to lose that connectivity. And the speed of the wireless can be whatever you actually need, and we can push more than a gig wirelessly, which is sufficient for the applications that we expect to find on a farm these days. So the kind of summary is we bring wireless or wired to feed your farm, and then we build access points to deliver the signal around the farm so that you get the signal you need in the places you need, wherever those are. Our work on this basically looks at the network plan, including bringing the signal in, looking at the Wi-Fi for work inside your different buildings, to understand where you need resilience with a battery backup or a generator, and what needs to be monitored, and what constitutes an error or failure. So that we can actually program it and have automatic alerts. And then we present the solution for a private network, where we're bringing you the private network you need for your farm. It's custom designed because everybody's barns are different. And on top of that, we will do a device inventory to make sure that there's a support plan in place for every one of your devices. We may not be the people supporting it, but it's useful to know who the support people are. So if you have somebody that needs to be called if we're planning on rebooting something, then that would be on a list. So it's part of the planning for the operation. And we also make sure that the speed of connection you get makes sense for your business. And it's a custom support plan for your farm. So those are the kinds of things that we're working on in the smart farm area. Any questions?
Very much, perfect, very interesting. When I hear IoT, I also think of, cellular, LTE. Is that something you use in your product offering as well? Would you sort of fold that into the, under the wireless umbrella?
Well, we are looking at some products that would be private networks. So there are products on the market for wireless private networks that would involve LTE or 5G technologies. And you'd have to take a look at what you're using them for. We do have 3 towers of LTE, but they're being used for fixed wireless access, not for Wi-Fi. I think you're talking Wi-Fi, Stan?
No, I was thinking like a Rogers or a Telus or a Bell cellular service, and I think the big knock on that service, I think the speeds are quite good now, but where the customer really gets hammered is on the data.
Yeah, so that's where things like the Loral system out of Europe starts to make sense, because they have a way of putting packets together and minimizing the actual traffic that's required. It can absorb, let's say, every 500 packets, it actually does a burst. So it's one long burst rather than continuous, single short packets that say, here's the current temperature, here's the current temperature, here's the current temperature. So instead you'd get something else. Go ahead, Michelle.
So we do have some applications, Stan, that we introduced LTE as a failover inside one of our devices.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tweaked it so that it only drives POS devices and very important things, so that the data doesn't go out of control. And those are fairly available, and we only use them for backups on some wireless connections.
But so I guess your primary links would always be off of your fixed wireless network. Then you would just look at LTE for backup type of
Exactly.
situations. Okay.
Yeah, some of the customers with critical POS devices, we use that for them.
Okay. Good. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to thank you all for coming. We're always looking for suggestions for what we could add to our webinar series. We appreciate the opportunity to serve and grow our business. So if there's anything that we can do to help you, please let us know. And talk to our team about the support plans, because the new support plans will offer commercial 24/7. And we're actually doing a plan for work at home and small business small office, home office. So we are planning for new supports that would be available as a premium support. Next up is our pre-wiring for internet during construction or renovations, and that'll be on March 7th. So look forward to seeing you back again for another webinar. Thank you.